it's important to celebrate and talk about the political achievements of women. We are surrounded by powerful women. All of you watching and listening today, you are all powerful. Some of you may not have discovered your power as yet, but hey, sisters, we are here to help and inspire each and every one of you. One of the most courageous things you can do is identify yourself, know who you are and what you believe in and where you want to be. Let us empower each other with our own challenging life stories of courage, survival, and resilience. Let's share who we are as women, our journeys, our successes, and our downsides. Each one of us has been through our fair share of trials and tribulations. But remember, whatever knocks you down, you get back up stronger and wiser, okay? And you start again. We as women need to believe in ourselves. Yes, we will face difficulties, but there is tremendous support out there. We have to create those safe places where women feel they belong. We need to ensure we lay the foundations for our future generations to come. And as women, our manifesto needs to be clear. As long as discrimination, inequities remain a commonplace around the world, as long as girls and women are valued less, overworked, underpaid, and subjected to violence in and out of their homes, the potential of living in a peaceful, prosperous world will not be realized. We need to be involved. We need to create change and opportunities. We have to learn to love and respect ourselves and others for who we are. We are united by our shared experiences and values. However, our differences empower us. We should continue to stand against oppression and injustice of any sort within our own cultures and society. Every one of us has a contribution to make. You all have a responsibility. You all are the eyes and ears of your communities. You are all responsible to stand up against injustice and inequality. Women have come to recognize that they are individuals who are valuable and precious. Their amazing contribution to their families as mothers, daughters, sisters, to the workplace and the community, and to the broader sphere that we are involved in. I believe every one of us has something unique to offer. And when people are able to put their strengths and their abilities to work, they will feel they belong. The world becomes a better place, not only for them, but for the world around them. A simple mission to champion a culture of inclusion by providing a platform of advocacy, development, and support for women wherever they are. I'm going to invite our first speaker. Obviously, like I said to you before, unfortunately, due to circumstances out of our control and her control, but we have a video and a presentation. And I'm going to ask Audra, could we set that? Yeah. So this is a presentation from Amina Easat-Daas. And I'm just going to actually introduce her bio before we actually hear the presentation. Amina Easat-Daas is an early career academic fellow at De Montfort University, Leicester in the United Kingdom, where she lectures in politics. She specializes in the study of Islamophobia and in particular gendered Islamophobia, countering Islamophobia and Muslims in politics, and regularly consults on these subjects at the international level. Her forthcoming manuscript is entitled Muslim Women's Political Participation in France and Belgium, and that's published by Palgrave Macmillan. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm terribly sorry that I can't be with you here today at the MacFest event, but I want to thank my colleagues at MacFest for the opportunity to share some of my work and insights with you. By way of introduction, on the first slide, the title of my presentation, I'm talking about Muslim women's political participation, and I'm comparatively looking at France, Belgium, and the UK. My name is Dr. Amina Easat-Daas. I'm a lecturer in politics at De Montfort University. I study in Islamophobia studies, particularly in the way in which Islamophobia affects Muslim women, but also I look at Muslim women's political participation, and that's the basis of my contribution today. So coming to slide 2, just a bit of an introduction as to the format of my contribution. I want to discuss why it's relevant to look at Muslim women's political participation, and the basis of what I want to talk to you about today is my book, which is on the slide here, entitled Muslim Women's Political Participation in France and Belgium, and I'll draw some insights from this book. It's available from Palgrave Macmillan. It's part of the New Directions in Islam series. So why look at Muslim women's political participation? Why in my book have I studied France and Belgium? How did I study Muslim women's political participation? And what is the nature of this, and how does it compare with the existing political participation of Muslim women in the UK? Coming on to slide 3. Why study Muslim women's political participation? My argument is that it is documenting Muslim women's citizenship, Muslim women's active engagement within the society that they are based. Very much counters the idea that they are other and excluded from society, that they run parallel lives, that Muslims in general run parallel lives. It places them within the realm of citizenship and engagement. As I said, it challenges these dominant Islamophobic ideas. I find that Muslim women's political participation varies significantly across the continent, and this in itself is a reason why we should be looking at why are there these differences? What are the best practices? What gives rise to more engagement and participation by Muslim women? What limits them? And I found that prior to conducting my research, which was behind this book, I found that Muslim women tended to be fairly well represented in formal politics when there was any sort of Muslim representation at all. In my book, I study France and Belgium. Why I study France and Belgium? So France has the largest European Muslim population, and although they don't record faith statistics, estimates are around 8% of the population, potentially higher, but they have the poorest rate of Muslim political representation across the continent. Whereas neighbouring Belgium, which is often thought of as a similar case, has the highest rate of Muslim political representation. And this particularly high rate of Muslim political representation is closely followed by the UK. And as I was setting up this research, I was drawn to the very different experiences of people like Noor Azimi, who's in the picture on slide 3 from Belgium, who was the first headscarf wearing elected political official on the continent. And so that's really quite significant. And then you have cases like Ilhan Omar, who tried to stand at a very similar time to Azimi's initial standing back in 2009. Moussaïd was 2010. She also wore the headscarf, but she faced intense media scrutiny. And this was a very small far left party that she stood with. So why do we experience these differences? What gives rise to these sorts of differences in experience? Coming on to slide 4, how to study Muslim women's political participation. I found that the statistical evidence already existed. We have numerical evidence out there already. Books like Abdelkader Sino, who looks at and charts statistics around Muslim representation, and he does this along gendered lines. What I found was missing in both the academic research, but also political discourse, media discourse, I found that Muslim women's voices are often silenced or they're absent completely. And I found that a way in which I could bring this to the fore in my book was via interviewing. If I spoke to these women who are engaged in politics themselves, I might be able to foreground some of their voice and experience. So I interviewed women who identified as Muslim women. There was a varying degrees of religiosity, but that's deeply personal. They participated in politics in France and Francophone Belgium. And by politics, I meant parliamentary politics. I interviewed MEPs, members of the European Parliament, people who are involved in national politics, senators and so on, federal, local councillors, trade union activists, and also grassroots, more informality-based politics at the sort of other end of the spectrum. Coming on to slide 5, well, what really is the nature of Muslim women's political participation? First, I'll look at France, then I'll look at Belgium. So in France, I would say that the nature of Muslim women's political participation can be characterized as being one of endless barriers, seemingly, and shrinking spaces. And this is a quote from one of my interviews. The interviewee says, "To exist in the French political sphere, you must be French, but without your personal particularisms, and therefore negate all of the complexities of the French identity. What's more, what makes me a little bit mad is that those who physically represent the complexity of the French identity aren't allowed to show it. On the contrary, you must be more royal than the king." And this quote for me really sums up the way in which one needed to be very much in line with the assimilationist French tendencies, one had to be very French. In France, it's not only a case of ethnic difference or Muslimness that is otherized and pushed to the outer limits of society. Even gender is problematic, and there are numerous issues within the French political sphere around gendered representation, but also attitudes towards gender difference, i.e. the presence of women in politics. And there have been legislative measures in France, such as the gender parity legislation, which sought to do away with some of this lack of representation of women in politics. If you imagine that lack of women's representation coupled with religious difference, coupled with ethnic difference a lot of the time, you begin to see some of the nature of the experience that Muslim women in French politics face. And this wasn't restricted to the upper levels of politics. I saw it in more informal politics as well, like grassroots activism. And remember that France is a case whereby the country in itself and a lot of the legislation in the country is centered around the regulation, let's say, of Muslim women's bodies. We have headscarf bans in schools, niqab bans in public. There have been debates and hysteria around the wearing of long skirts. So there's this sort of normativity of assimilation. One must be French in a very particular way, but also there's this colonial complexity that's added to, and these legacies of colonialism that persist in the French sphere. But nonetheless, Muslim women in France did find ways of engaging. These ways of engaging were particularly limited in nature and in scope. Coming on to slide 6, what's the nature of Muslim women's political participation in Belgium? I found that in Belgium things were a lot more nuanced. And given Belgium's federal constitution, you found that there were a lot more localized norms in the federal region. So Belgium is made up of French-speaking Wallonia in the south, Dutch or Flemish-speaking Flanders in the north, and you have the capital region, which is technically bilingual, French and Dutch. Everybody speaks English, or more often than not in the capital region, everybody speaks English. There is a small Germanophone region, so German-speaking region in the Liège province. So you have this diversity that already exists within Belgium. So you had this diversity in the nature of experience. It was a lot more nuanced. On the whole, there were generally more opportunities for Muslim women to participate in politics. And this comes down to the nature of the political structure. So Belgium has proportional representation. Very briefly, proportional representation means that unlike in the UK, where we have a two-party race most of the time, that the UK being a majoritarian system, in Belgium, there tends to be a lot less political stability, but you have more representation of a diverse body of parties. And this really meant that women, Muslim women in particular, and women in general, can find a space. In addition to that, you have gender parity legislation, which encourages the forwarding of women candidates. But you also have enforced voting. One must vote if you're a Belgian citizen. By law, you must vote in Belgium. So then there is a big cohort of voters, like we might see in the UK with the black vote or the Muslim vote and so on. There is a big cohort of voters that must vote, and therefore political parties must appeal to them. So you find women more likely to find a space because they are women, because they are likely to appeal to these traditionally marginalized voters. So as I mentioned back in reference to slide 3, we had people like Noor Azimi, who stood in Belgium, in the Brussels capital region, appealed to a particular section of the voter, fulfilled gender parity legislative measures, and for quite some time was largely successful in Belgian politics. When you come out of the Brussels capital region, you come to the more rural areas like the Francophone Wallonia, you tend to get a bit more influence of the French style of things, and it's summed up in the quote on slide 6. In this interviewee said to me, the deputy bourgmaster did not want me to be a municipal councillor whilst wearing the headscarf. She forgets that 6 months prior, when she was canvassing in the mosque, saying that she didn't have a problem with the headscarf, that she wouldn't have a problem with activists wearing the headscarf. And you see this competing influence of French ideals around the headscarf, coupled with the competing pressures of the political opportunity structure. So in Belgium, I would say things were a lot more nuanced and a lot more changing. But on the whole, comparatively speaking, things were a lot better for Belgian Muslim activists. So to come on to slide 7, how does all of this compare to the UK? And in the UK, we've got noteworthy Muslim political representation. And I've got a still there from an article referenced at the bottom of slide 7, which shows the high rates of Muslim representative politicians. So December 2019, the elections that we had, there were 19 Muslim MPs, 15 from the Labour Party, 4 from the Tory Party. And of these, you can see, just looking at the image, there are a large number of women. Of the total 220 MPs in Westminster, 10 are Muslim women. This really shows that we're making significant gains within the political arena as Muslim women, as Muslims in general. So I think there are definitely noteworthy examples here. And I think we find ourselves somewhere between Belgium and France. We have a majoritarian system, but we have this a broader culture of accepting diversity to a degree that we might not see in neighbouring France, for example. I would say that the UK constitutes a remarkable example. And as you'll hear on the panel tonight, we have some of those noteworthy British Muslim women political activists and representatives here with us. But nonetheless, I would argue that there continue to be barriers to Muslim women's political participation and women's participation in politics more broadly. And this is coupled with a culture of Islamophobia. I don't even need to go into depth and really talk about all of that. I'm sure a lot of you will know what I'm referring to when we have the current PM now calling women letterboxes. You see that background and culture that women are having to fight against, that Muslim women are having to fight against. But whilst I would say that the UK is a noteworthy example, there are still challenges to face. There are still barriers to overcome, but notwithstanding, I think that the UK is a remarkable example. So coming on to slide 8, just to still have my book there. In conclusion, gains are being made, but simultaneously Islamophobia is growing. And I think countering Islamophobia is key. And this might be done by political engagement or challenging political discourse, challenging legislation, the media and the press. And I think MacFest is one of many examples in the UK of this creative challenging and highlighting the diversity of Muslimness and promoting engaging emotive strategies and images of Muslimness. So thank you ever so much for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm incredibly sorry that I couldn't be with you. And thank you once again. Salam to all.
That was an absolutely excellent presentation from Amina. Brilliant information, just trying to understand some of the barriers and challenges and complexities of politics. So we have some real politicians with us now, and I'm going to invite our chief guest speaker, Julie Ward. And Julie is a Labour and Cooperative Party member of the European Parliament for the northwest of England, covering Cumbria, Lancashire, Merseyside, Cheshire and Greater Manchester. As such, she is a member of the European Parliamentary Labour Party and in turn part of the second largest group in the European Parliament, the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats. Julie served on the Parliament's Culture and Education Committee, the Regional Development Committee and the Committee on Gender Equality and Women's Rights. She is also a member of the Labour Party's Policy Commission on Education and Children. Julie is an active campaigner for equal rights and social justice, and was previously an organiser for the 1 Billion Rising, the global movement to raise awareness of violence against women and girls. And just to add, Solidarity, a fantastic sister who I've worked with and shared many travel and meetings. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you very much, Yasmine. Actually, many of the things that you said are now in the past, because our country has unfortunately taken the retrograde step of removing itself from a very important platform for human rights and democracy. So I'm no longer an MEP, but that doesn't mean that I give up my activism or my solidarity with my Muslim sisters, and there's still a lot to fight for. So, and I'm hugely privileged to be here with you. I love MacFest. I just want to say how pleased I am that Kezra, you know, has continued to organise what have become really, really important places for us to discuss issues that affect all of us and to showcase the best that we can be. So before I was a politician, I was a poet and a theatre maker. And I'm a storyteller, really, and I love to use words. And I wanted to read a poem because it was my poem about the glass ceiling. And I think that many women who are on the panel today and who are listening on Facebook and in the Zoom room might also recognise what I'm speaking about here. And I hope that you'll maybe have some questions about this. So I wrote this poem before I was elected. It's called Orders, Please. If I was starting out now, I would not wait for permission to join the human race on an equal footing, nor look for that elusive invitation asking me to take my rightful place at the table where everyone can eat their fill. I would enter the man's room through the glass ceiling, abseiling from above in an aerial display of breathtaking beauty, wearing my favorite high-heeled shoes and dressed to kill with compassion. I would not mind my manners or pick up my food with ladylike grace. I would upset the apple cart with my bruised fruitfulness. I would speak out of turn precisely because I have a voice. I would laugh and make jokes at men's foibles and folly, chastise them like children for their warmongering chants. I would make them clear the table of their devastating debris, wash their dirty dishes and hang out their own laundry for all the world to see that underneath the suits and boots, they wear soiled underwear and socks with holes. I would teach them to mend and darn, to knit comfort blankets and sew seams of solidarity, to learn embroidery and other gentle arts, so that they might set the table for us with a cloth of flowers and wait as patiently as we have waited. Orders, please. And I wrote that poem some time ago and I keep coming back to it because it is a call for action, really, and it is a call for every woman to understand that she has a right to be part of the political landscape, and that politics is about everyday life, and it's really important that women are part of it. And I can tell you now that when women are at the table helping to make decisions, everybody wins. So the boys and the men win too. This conference, this event today is about challenges and celebrations, isn't it, and achievements. Well, all of us, all women, face misogyny to a larger and smaller degree. And I hate to say that I think it's increasing, not decreasing. I think that in many cases, in many countries, in many spheres of life, there's a kind of backpedaling going on. There's a pushback against giving us our rightful place at that table. And unfortunately, a lot of the criticisms and the that we suffer, that we have to bear, are about the way that we are dressed. So there's a very famous bit of film where Stella Creasy, who is a Labour MP, a very serious Labour MP, dealing a lot with credit unions and trying to find to stop the loan sharks. So she did some really, really important work that affected women in their sort of daily lives in terms of how we manage money and stuff. And Stella Creasy was asking a question in the Houses of Parliament, and somebody asked her a question back. And the question was nothing to do with the information and the evidence and the research that Stella had done. It was basically a comment about her plastic miniskirt. right? And there is also another very famous piece of footage about Caroline Lucas, the Green MEP, the Green MP. Caroline was in a select committee about something, and she was wearing a t-shirt with some slogans on it, and she had quite a smart jacket on over the top of it, and she was being questioned by a male peer. He was wearing a kind of very sort of fusted tweed sort of jacket thing, didn't look that fresh and laundered. And again, Caroline's an incredible politician, has done her research, you know, presented this information. And the first thing that this chair of the committee says to her is, "You're not appropriately dressed to be here asking this question." And why is it that, you know, that men are not listening to the words that are coming out of women's mouths? Why are they not taking the issues that we present seriously? Why are they looking at what we're wearing rather than what we're saying and what we're doing? And I do believe that this issue is even worse for my Muslim sisters, because those of you who have chosen to wear traditional dress, and it's your choice, you know, and in fact, I also own some wonderful outfits and costumes that I've been very proud to receive and wear when we've been attending special dinners. I believe that you are subject to even worse misogyny because of what you wear, and it really is totally unacceptable. We have to be, all of us, taken seriously for what we do, for our record, not for what we wear. And this brings into play the issue about intersectionality and multiple discrimination, because all women are subject to discrimination, but if you are a Black woman, you experience even more discrimination. If you are a woman of a faith, you know, who is obviously wearing a particular kind of dress attire, you are subject to even more discrimination. If you don't identify as being male or female, if you are non-binary, you are subject to even more discrimination. If you are disabled, you are subject to even more discrimination. So this is how this multiple discrimination can build and build and build, and really tie women. It makes it very difficult for women to succeed because you have so many barriers to cross. And one of the things that I was proud of that we did in the European Parliament in our Socialists and Democrats Women's Rights Committee is that we used intersectionality as a basis for making policy and for submitting amendments to different reports and to different pieces of legislation that were going through the Parliament. And I am afraid to say that I don't see much practice of the approach of intersectionality here in the UK, not even in our party, in my party, the Labour Party. And that's a job that we should really be pushing as we go forward. Let's take an intersectional approach and remove the barriers. But I do want to talk about achievements, and I want to name some amazing Muslim women politicians, because they are out there and they're doing incredible things. So one of them is Ilhan Omar, who is a member of the Squad, who was recently re-elected in the American elections. She is a Somali refugee. She is a very educated woman. She is incredibly articulate. She is young, beautiful, and really holds power well. She commands so much respect, and she doesn't put up with any rubbish. So she tells the truth as she sees it. And that makes her an incredible politician. And she is a congresswoman for Minnesota. There is also Atifeta Yahaga, who was the president of Kosovo, who worked in the police force before she worked in politics, and who has done amazing things to make the subject and the experience of sexual violence in war something that Kosovan women would be able to speak about and would also receive financial compensation for. And I'm actually very proud that I played a part in the financial compensation that the women of Kosovo have received. Then there's, in this country, Zara Sultana, who is the 26-year-old MP, Labour MP, who was recently elected for Coventry. There's my sister, Shaista Aziz, who is an extraordinary woman campaigner. She started the Stop Trump movement at Another Europe is Possible, where I'm also on the National Committee, and she's a town councillor in Oxford. And then I just want to tell a little short story, and I'll finish because I can see that we're running out of time. An amazing young woman called Donya Azimi, who was an Afghan refugee woman who ended up living in Sweden, finding sanctuary in Sweden. And I gave this young woman a 2-week opportunity to job shadow me when I was in the European Parliament. And she is now studying law in Sweden. And this is what women can do when we who have positions of power hold out our hands to other people and we help pull them up the ladder to be on the platform where we are. You know, we have to have more women at that table. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. Your words were so inspirational and your poem was absolutely amazing. So I think we all deserve a copy of that, and we'll put it on the MacFest website. But thank you so much. I'm going to invite our, just to remind everyone, if anyone's got any questions for Julie, please put them in, and we'll try and get Julie to answer them before if she has to leave, because she's obviously on call and she might have to go. But definitely ask those questions. I'm going to invite our next speaker, another amazing sister, and this is Anna Stamou, and she represents the Muslim Association of Greece. She has participated in European and international conferences and meetings concerning the issues faced by the Muslim community. She has been a strong voice for the affairs of the Greek Muslims for the last 15 years. Anna has promoted interfaith dialogue, participates at Muslim Unity Fora, organised Office for Interfaith Marriages and New Muslims, translated relevant books, and at the PR section, she has coordinated numerous media coverage concerning issues and challenges with international media, and she's given interviews in many countries. She's a member to several European Muslim assemblies, being constantly connected with the European Muslims in order to promote the equality among citizens of any religion, and talks openly about the hate speech and hate crime. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. I wish all the success for this fantastic MacFest. It's a great honor for me to be around you, people, women of power. And once again, we have to talk about women, Muslim women. I agree totally with Julie. It's all women are facing misogyny that is increasing. So in the next minutes, I will try to say more things about women politics and rights. It is impossible to have less and less women. We should be on the front line. Anyway, but I would like to go a step back and introduce myself. I come from a country, is Greece. Greece is the southeastern border of the European Union, and it has a diversity than other countries in Europe, has two different kinds of Muslim communities. The big one, the large one, is coming from immigrant descendants, that is almost 500,000 people that came from the Middle Eastern countries mostly, and from Pakistan later, and Afghanistan later. But also we have a Muslim minority up north that is remained from the Ottoman times. They're indigenous people. They have learning Islam through Turkish language. They have multiple origins of the area there. So we have two different challenges facing in the country. It is true that not so many women are involved in politics Muslim women, because this is a great challenge. We have so many stereotypes reproduced all the time. You have so many barriers, and this makes people feeling intimidated. But I have to acknowledge that the women of the North, that they're indigenous, they tried so hard to get some political positions, although nobody could ever be a member of the parliament. That is something that it's not very easy, because there are so many, not only the dress code, but also every step a woman can make in politics. She is subjected to other arguments like you're being Muslim. This is something that degrades your ability. This is not true. The fact is that I will tell you shortly about my experience when I converted to Islam, because I'm a Muslim convert myself. I never thought about all these challenges. I thought, okay, it is a different religion, but more or less that we live in the same society, same challenges, same ordeals. Women are still being subjected to many obstacles. It is true, no matter wearing a headscarf, no matter what religion she is, she will always be criticized for her dress. I will say just the point that we have the president of the Greek Hellenic democracy is a woman, and recently she was in an island where she would celebrate a national day of this island, and she was wearing some small boots because this is a paved way with rocks, so she could not wear high heels. And they did not care what this fine woman, high judge, what she was saying. And I say she's the first lady of the governmental system here in Greece. And they were all day criticizing what kind of boots she was wearing. And I was so proud of her, because this is the point. You're talking about serious things. We're acting seriously, and we're being judged for the dress code. So wearing the headscarf in Greece is a barrier, but I think that being a woman and asking for political position is a barrier. I will tell you my experience back in 2014 when I was a candidate for the Europe Parliament elections, and I was invited by the Eco Green Party of my country to be a part of. The Eco Green Party at that time, they were trying to attract some diverse key figures of the country, to put one shoulder next to the other, to show that we can prove that we can work together nicely, and we can achieve many things. And actually, it was a very good step. To tell you the truth, I was very happy to be a part of this process. And although the party was not elected in the parliament, my thinking was very positive, because I did not face that discrimination. I think if I run today, I would have more discrimination. Back at the time, 6-7 years ago, things were very smooth. Nobody judged me for my headscarf, and they were listening to what I was saying, and that was very, very hopeful. That made me think that, yes, we're going to have many stereotypes. Every woman, for every reason, not only women. I mean, Julie said very, very well all these categories. So what are we doing? What should we do now? We should go forward. Nothing could intimidate women entering the politics, because life is political. I mean, we have to live a political life, even if we claim for a higher position, even if we want something in the municipality, if we want to do something about our society. We must live an active political life. And we have to start from the grassroots. We have to affect our community. I heard about Ilhan Omar, that I respect very much, especially she's the symbol of how a refugee in the same generation, not second or third generation, managed to be in the Congress, and twice. Why? Because she affected the community. It was not a matter of lobbying or affecting a small community. If you work for the common good, for the wider society, if you make the change, that is because of your hard work, your good skills, and how you get educated and get more skills in order to serve well. So what we women should do is focus on what can we offer. And if we don't have to offer, we have to get some more skills. So I want to see women get educated. I want to see women, if you want to go in public relations, for example, we have to study for that or follow courses for that, not expose ourselves without training before. You cannot put in the front line in front of cameras a woman that is not able to talk in front of the cameras and embarrass herself also. We have to get ready for the task. We have to be sincere with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves and choose the best roles we can. Yes, we can involve in politics, each one with own talents and own skills. The insults, the slander will never stop. This goes along with everyday life. If you do something good, you will have 100 negative comments. And we see this in everyday life. For the smaller thing to the biggest thing. The thing is what we do about this. We have to stay focused on the common good. You cannot say that, oh, I'm so shocked. No, there's no time for that, because we have to create a generation that we will pass to the next generation. I dream of women not thinking, oh, I'm a woman, I'm subjected to this discrimination. No, I mean, we will fight as we should and overcome this. The point is our actions. And what stays in the end is not the slander, is what you did. Because this is not enough. We have to do also something. We don't have to say, I'm a Muslim, vote for me. No. We have to say, I created this plan, I have this project, I have this dream, I have this strategic planning, vote for me. We have to say something, not show ourselves, I'm a Muslim, I'm a part of the statistics. It's good to have one Muslim woman, one black Christian woman, one this. No, this is not the thing. We have to be equal with the other women, equal also in the discrimination. So we don't. So my point is that it's a hard way up, but it's feasible. We can do this. We can do this with skills. We need solidarity with each other. We need specialized courses. We need a very good lobbying with each other and working hard for a clear goal, not something vague. You put a goal and you go for that. That is my point. That is why I keep up doing, because I want the next generation to take a better chance, to get a better chance. I think that I should rest, and I'm waiting for any questions. Thank you very much. Thank you, Yasmine, for giving me all this time.
Thank you so much for your experiences and knowledge and giving us an insight into the politics in Greece. That is very informative. Thank you. I have our final speaker before the questions and answers. And we have Councillor Dzidra Noor with us, and she was born in Latvia, moved to the United Kingdom in 1999. She completed a law degree and was elected as a Labour Party councillor in Manchester in 2014. In addition of being a councillor, Dzidra is a school governor at Levenshulme High School for Girls, a member of the Independent Advisory Group with Greater Manchester Police, a board member at All FM Radio, and sits on the Economy Scrutiny Committee and a member of Greater Manchester Transport. And she is a mother of 3 wonderful girls, and I would like to welcome Dzidra Noor.
Thank you, Yasmine, and thank you, Hazra, as well, and MacFest for inviting. It's really an honor to be here and share the panel with such a great speakers like yourself and Julie and Anna, and learn more experiences of everybody else. Same as Yasmine, we both are councillors in Manchester. We got elected, I think, the same year, isn't it? So yeah, it's been interesting times. It hasn't been always easy. Obviously, we as a mothers, a family, our wives, as sisters, we actually need to bring more of ourselves into politics, and we need to stand up for women like us, because I do agree with Anna that we need to educate ourselves and have a gender and promises in life and set ourselves goals, what we want to achieve. But what women bring into politics is that women who don't have that confidence, who think it's like, well, at the moment I have children, I have family, I don't have a time. We can actually help those women. We encourage them. We can be their voices. We can be example. For example, most of our councillors, most of the women are mothers, are working full time and doing loads of extra things. And we women can do that. We are great at multitasking. We can't just kind of put ourselves down and say, well, oh, no, I can't do that. Well, there are better people. I don't have time. We can find the time and we can give. And because being in the politics, being around the table with the decision makers, we can actually make the policies and law which one actually protects and makes lives better for mothers. Creating, for example, Sure Starts or day nurseries for schools and be involved in education. It's actually helping our daughters in the future to have a better life. We need to help to build our confidence. We need to help build confidence in other women. So it is really, really important. And what other things, like sometimes women say, oh, no, I'm not strong enough. I'm not confident. I don't have knowledge. I don't have skills to be in politics. Women, in general, we lacking self-confidence. If there is job, for example, a job advertisement, and there are 10 criteria to fulfill the job criteria, women will go and it's like, I can do 9 of those. I can't do 1. It's like, no, I'm not good enough. Whereas men would actually look, it's like, oh, I can do 3 of them, and they will go for their job. But because women putting themselves down, thinking, no, I'm not 100% there. Well, men actually with less qualities will get the job because there will be no women putting themselves forward. So this is really, really important that we actually build our self-confidence down and stand up for those women and say, well, you can do. You should be sitting around the table. You should be helping to shape the policy, shape the law, which one will be better for you, for your children, and for future for other women. So obviously, I would like to give more time for people to ask questions. So I think probably that's all from me. And yeah.
Dzidra, thank you so much. And this is what this conversation is about, this celebration of women from all backgrounds and lifestyles, and understanding, yes, we are mothers, sisters, daughters. We have got so many diverse roles, and no role is any less than any other. But that's it. You bring your lived experience into politics because you want to make a difference. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Dzidra. Really, really important. I'm going to move on to any questions that are being asked and put in the webinar. But before, so if we're past the questions on a regular basis, but I've got one question here for probably, I'll go for you, Anna. Why is it important for women to vote?
Sorry, to vote?
Yeah, why should women vote?
I mean, I don't separate men and women in this. I mean, I don't find anything. But to tell you the truth, we Muslim women know that voting was from the very, very beginning for Muslim women, and something that in my country was achieved in the 50s. My grandmother, she was so proud to vote. And they vote for the most handsome because they did not have a political color. Yes, they did. But to tell you the truth, we need a political maturity. And voting mean that you engage yourself. You don't only assign your future to the hands of some politician. It is that you want to take part in the process. And if it's not him, it will be you, and you engage yourself. It's not something that you want, it's also an obligation. It's not only to get privileges. That is why a vote is something natural. Yeah.
The reason I asked this question, in the UK, and I know obviously Julie and Dzidra would vouch for me on this, it is such a job when we tell women, get out there and vote, and they'll say, no, we don't need to, we're not bothered. Or some women will ask their husbands for advice. And you're thinking, well, actually, And some say, oh, I can't be bothered, I don't want to vote, I've got the kids and childcare and caring responsibilities. And it's so upsetting to us in politics in the UK. It's like thinking, hang on, women have died fighting for the right to vote. It's been just nearly over 100 years that women have had the chance to vote in the in the UK. And you're thinking, they've been in prison, they've died, they've been beaten up. And then when women tell you, oh, I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to be bothered, then I think, well, stop complaining then. You know, usually we're the ones that are complaining. And as Dzidra mentioned before, you know, the issues that are real to us, if we don't campaign, we don't get involved, how do we expect the laws or the policies to reflect us as women? Julie, do you want to answer?
Well, one of my responsibilities in the European Parliament on the Education and Culture Committee was youth policy and citizenship. And I think really that in this country, we have failed. We have really failed to give our young people, all our young people, any quality, decent kind of citizenship education. And as somebody who worked in countries all around the world, and I was an election observer in fragile democracies. So, you know, I was there to watch the process of democracy in action. I think that where people have not had the vote, where they've been under the power of a dictatorship, where where democracy is only very recent, those people really, really value democracy. So I was in Kenya as an observer there for the elections, and the voting started at about sort of 5 o'clock in the morning. In the dark and in the cold, because this was up in the hills, and the women workers in the flower fields were standing in long queues with babies on their backs ready to vote. And so I think that there's partly an issue about, you know, it happened, us getting our franchise happened a very long time ago, and we're always told, you know, we're a fantastic democracy and we don't need to worry about it, this, that and the other. I happen to think at the minute that we're a broken democracy. There's a lot of things really outdated and gone wrong with the British system. So partly we're a bit lazy about it, you know, we think it doesn't matter. We also have a first past the post system which doesn't work. I'm a campaigner with the Labour campaign for electoral reform. I think we need to change the system so that every vote counts, but we also need to make sure that everybody going through school understands that they have rights and responsibilities as citizens, and that means proper real quality citizenship education, and it means practicing democracy when you're at school. And I used to do loads and loads of summer schools with kids from all around the world, kids who'd been street kids in the Philippines, for example, disabled kids, kids with learning disabilities. And I taught them not only about the importance of democracy, but we actually enacted it in the room in the summer school. So I was teaching them to do things like to write resolutions, you know, and then to think about amendments, to fight for those things that they believed should be part of the best practice, the model examples of making good policy. And I don't think anybody is too young to begin those processes, but we've got to be teaching teachers so that they can teach young people.
Thank you, Julie. I've got there's lots of questions coming in, so be ready. A comment from Councillor Heather Fletcher, just a general point, that was basically only 35% of local councillors are women. There are around 600 councillors in Greater Manchester, yet only 3 of them, including herself, are Jewish women. We have to encourage other women. And her 16-year-old niece says that she wants to study politics at university. Absolutely brilliant. I have a question here. Do you think Muslim women in the UK, for example, have a duty to stand in solidarity with women against misogynistic attacks such as the recent Sarah Everard? Dzidra, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think we as a woman should always stand up for other women. And obviously we need to be there to actually help to change the law, encourage other women to actually stand, because if we're not going to stand or look after each other, who's going to look after us? So we definitely need to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Women need to feel safe It's I know we talk about prevention. I know we talk about prevention is better than cure or an incident occurring, but women, the government needs to take this into hand now. You know, women need to be safe. Women need not have to worry about going outside, and you know, it's really, really important. We have to fight for our independence, and this is, of course, we stand in solidarity with every sister, you know, young woman, women that have gone through any type of misogynistic attack. Anna, do you want to make any comments? And
you know, this is a very, very painful issue, this misogyny. And you know, many cases from my experience that also women encourage this misogyny. It's because there are women that want to keep this patriarchic model, and they are not assisting. I mean, the solidarity is not there. Some women say, I'm not a feminist, so I support men. This is a lack of social education and these issues, and we need more solidarity from women. To tell you the truth, me, a woman as wearing a headscarf, I had more incidents from women than men. To tell you the truth, I have received more respect for me wearing a headscarf or having my political views or having my religion visible, more from men than women. But you know, misogyny is something that is in the air. It's in the atmosphere. You can feel it in the eyes, in the eye contact, in the discussion. For example, we have a political party leader. She's a woman, and she's very capable, and she's in the Socialist Party. But she's always associated with a very good father of hers that he passed away, but he was a very famous politician, and he was very loved. And always when they're talking about her, they associate her with their deceased father. So we have, like, she does not have a light on her own. That is in the air. That is in the atmosphere. You cannot change it with a law or with some training. This needs to cultivate in the generations. This is a problem that we are dealing in our everyday life. Yes, the comments, we can cut the comments. You can say, you cannot say that by law. I mean, you can make like you have the Tell Mama UK, all discrimination acts or acts against. You can say, but you cannot change the mind so easily. So this is a long process, but we have to work towards that, because this is hatred, little poison in our water every day. It's not something that you can switch in overnight, but I think it's worth it. It's worth it.
Thank you, Anna. That question was from Mustafa. I've got another question here from Adele Jones, and Adele is asking, could these politicians tell us how they actually decided to go into politics? So I'll go to Julie.
Okay, well, it leads on from the last question, really. It was the rape and death of Yayoti Singh in Delhi in India that forced me to go into politics. I'd been thinking about it for quite a long time, and lots of people have been saying to me, why don't you be a councillor, why don't you be an MP? You know, because I was known for speaking up at meetings, for countering bullying and taking and advocating for people who were being really sort of downtrodden and left out. And I kept thinking, well, I've never studied politics, you know, and I'm probably a bit old to go into politics now. And the day that she dies, the day my life changed, because I was so upset. You know, I can remember being in my kitchen and I was on my keyboard and I was signing lots of petitions and I was crying, and I was like, it's not good enough to be a keyboard warrior anymore. You know, that's part of the story, but you have to do more. What else can I do? And I just thought, you know what? I can fill that form out, because I'd been thinking about it. I'd got the form, I'd been looking at it. And when I looked at the first page of the form, I couldn't tick a single box, because I'd never done anything in the party before. I was a real unknown. but it is her story. It is what happened to her that gave me the courage to stand. I do like to tell this story because I like to think that her death wasn't in vain and that she changed my life. Many people in the UK are like, well, what's a death in India got to do with, you know, the EU or women back here in the UK? And I'll tell you what it's got to do with. It's the Me Too moment, because many women that I knew at local level who'd been experiencing violence in their relationships started to talk about it. And I have a friend who worked at the local refuge for Women's Aid, and it allowed people to be much more public about the various forms of violence that they'd experienced in their lives. And, you know, so we have to, I think, with what's happened with Sarah Everard, and it's very upsetting for all of us, with what's happened to Sarah, we have to make sure that her death is not in vain, that things will be different. Right? Nobody else must suffer in the way that she has suffered. Things cannot continue, they have to change. And I'm sure that there are many women out there who feel, as I did about Yayoti's death, use this as a moment, okay, to take power and to challenge the patriarchy.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you. Dzidra, did you want to tell us why did you come into politics, or how did you come into politics?
Yeah, thank you, Yasmine. It was, I used to, while I was studying at university, I used to volunteer for I used to work for Sure-Start and volunteer for Citizens Advice Bureau. When I came to the UK, due to the policies at the time, I was able to go to university. I had my children in a crash, my children sent in Sure-Start centers, which gave them better chance in life. Being obviously from Latvia myself, who didn't have much of education, I got married very young, had children at a very young age. When living and having those options, and they had government given possibilities, the policies in place, because of the fundings, I could go to university, crash children in a crash, and working for Sure-Start and citizens, volunteering for Citizens Advice Bureau, I was helping other people in need. So when the Labour government lost elections and we ended up with the coalition government, I was actually worried for other children, other people who actually will not be given as much opportunities, whose voices won't be heard because there were legal cuts. I knew that people will not be able to go and issue the cases in court, not have a legal defense against employers who wouldn't pay the salary and other things, which when I thought were really, really important for most vulnerable people. So I wanted to be, and I wanted to defend, and I wanted to help somehow for the children to have a better life, for people to be able to go and educate themselves, to get a better job, to contribute to society, to protect people who actually need it, who were those vulnerable people. So this is why I kind of decided to join the Labour Party and start and engage more with the Labour Party. I was similarly to Julie told us, why don't you become a councillor? I thought, I don't know. But then I joined a women's forum and met another great councillors who said, well, no, it's okay. You don't have to, it's not that bad. So they kind of told us and educated us. And I was like, you know what, maybe I will. So here I am, 70 years now, yeah. So yeah, trying, obviously with the still policies as they are. And but at least we are there for the voice of most vulnerable and protecting and trying to make sure that our children have a better life and most vulnerable people are looked after.
Thank you for that. I mean, I suppose I want to share my story. I mean, I'd been a community activist for probably 25 years and I was challenging everything and working within the community. And I think once I mean, I'm a proud socialist, and the issues that affected my community, I mean, all the communities in Manchester, I was on every demonstration. I'd go and challenge, whether it was something that was happening abroad, I'd get to that demonstration, whether it was issues around the government and the austerity cuts, it was always being involved. And to be fair, I actually never thought someone like me, someone from a Black, Asian, minority ethnic community could be in politics, or that's what I'd wanted to be. I always thought it was about boring middle-aged men, and I didn't realize politics was something that actually is about your way of life and everything that we do and what we want and what our demands are in our communities. So I think being that community activist and doing the actual hands-on work, it made me realize, well, what am I doing? Yeah, I went back to uni, and as a single mom, I did a social work degree, and I started seeing the inequalities everywhere. And then I started working in a prison, so I saw the stigma and the vulnerability there as well. And I thought, well, you know what? I think I need to move on. I think I've got enough experience in my life to go into politics. And then you realize, actually, as women, our place, or some of the older generation was, you know, your place in the kitchen. I'll tell you now, women's place is in politics, and that's where we need to be, because we can, and Julie mentioned it before, as women being at the table and being at the forefront, we are more passionate, we are more caring, we are more understanding. And you know, the price of bread is politics. So, you know, you've got to be involved. And every woman listening today, you need to get involved. And like I said, we all can't be the face of politics, but you're the backbone of politics. So you need to support other women to raise your voice. We're your advocates. If we've made it to become councillors or MEPs, we need your support to be able to put the word forward. So I tell you, I will challenge everything. And from a young age, I was challenging the police, and like Dzidra, being on the independent advisory group, you have to, where you see injustice, inequality taking place, you need to speak up. And that's for each and every one of us. And whether it's with a woman or with a man or a certain community, you've got to, we are part of one race, the human race, and anything that affects that race is our problem, and we need to deal with it. So you know what, solidarity to everybody. Sorry, it was just going on a little bit there, but I'm just gonna get the next question. What else have we got? Let me see. I'm gonna say, I mean, these are proud moments, and it's so proud to be sitting here with all our sisters here today. Give me something that is significant in regards, let's celebrate our lives and the politics that we've come into. Some positives, please, or one or two positives. Julie.
Well, I suppose the positives are that we've got fantastic women in positions of power. Not enough, and not in enough positions of power, but I maybe just mention a few more. I'd already mentioned some before. You know, I'm a socialist like Yasmine, and that means I'm a trade unionist also. And there are some amazing women working in the trade union movement. And that's important, because that's about making sure that women who are also mothers and carers can work, and that the employment, you know, employment conditions allow them to work. So, for example, my friend Shavana Taj is currently the General Secretary of Wales TUC, and in the northwest of England, we also have a woman leader of the TUC, Lynn. So I think politics isn't just about being an MP or even a councillor. It is about, you know, Dzidra, you talked about you're a school governor. I was a school governor too. So it's about all those places where our voice needs to be heard. So in all areas of life, on things like health boards, you know, school councils, school governing bodies, wherever there is a forum of people coming together to discuss and make decisions about public life, about public services, about policy, about how money is spent, you know, I think we need to be there. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do what I've done, you know, which is to step into the public sphere. And I have to say, it was very, very scary at first. But finding people to hold your hand and people to back you up is really, really important. So that message about not necessarily, you know, being the candidate, I think is really, really important. Also being prepared to be part of the machinery around that, that's really important. I mean, I personally don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had you, Yasmine, you know, as somebody to confide in at times when things were really, really difficult. So do look in those other spheres of life. I also know women who work in usual sort of male jobs, what are deemed to be male jobs. So for example, there's a woman manager of a power station in Teesside, and she's fantastic. She's really, really phenomenal, you know. So let's look at the different spheres of life where we need to see other people like ourselves. And I've always said that if you don't see yourself represented in an elected body, right, then maybe it's your turn, okay? Or try and find somebody. And I didn't see it in myself. I needed other people to say it to me. So I know this got a bit off topic, but we won't necessarily all think of ourselves as candidates or as people who could do these jobs on different councils and, you know, advisory bodies. So please, you know, look for those opportunities and give your sisters, you know, just send them an email, you know, give them a phone call, tell them there's an opportunity and we need you in that place, and we're here to support you.
Thank you. Anna, any one or two of your achievements?
You know, I don't like to say about achievements. I want to say about influence. So when we see things and people that do not have a voice, and when you can inspire them to loud their voice, this is a success. This is not your achievements, but this is something to inspire. What we have to do, that is why people should involve in politics, because there are so many people around them that say, oh, you're going well, go for that. No, we want a team. We should always want to work teamwork in order to succeed. But if you don't inspire other people, I'm very happy when I have women of every age, and I like women of early age, I mean in their early 20s, say, I'm inspired, I want to do something like this, or I am encouraged to do so. This is a job done. I mean, I will raise my voice more. I will tell you a small example. The first time I went on national TV in an evening show that was a high, with a very high rates. I mean, everybody's watching this show. I did not want to do this, honestly, because it was so much exposure for me. And I know I would talk about all these stereotypes. 10 years after this show, I have been in many ones, but this one, this initial one, was so affected people, not Muslims, affected your neighbor, the Muslim's neighbor, the people that are shopping, and they were not on my face. My face, I had a voice. Yes, yes, I agree that I have a voice and I speak my mind, and I heard so many. I have so much opinions and people who say, I wish I could say that, and I can be their channel, to channel their thoughts. Yes, I do. But what is important is to inspire people. That is why if one woman in politics can inspire hundreds of girls that want to go to the board of their university union, they can go to the union of their work, they can, I mean, politics is not only the ultimate, the government, or I agree with Julie very much that we should be in every political aspect of life, in the school board, in the parents' school board, in the neighborhood. I mean, affecting people for the positive, and engaging more and more women, because this is how we can succeed.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Dzidra, any points of inspiration or achievements that you'd like to?
Yeah, similar to my previous colleagues, what I do believe that we need to teach our children from early ages as a governors, as a councillors, as the politicians, we should go to the schools and we should speak to the teachers. I know that from NW High, and I have taken other primary school children to the town hall, showed what it is, show what the experience is, what life is as be a councillor, and we had the debates where children actually put into groups and they were discussing how the policies are made. And I think we are starting, but there is still a long way up, because politics is not a word, it's actually our lives. And the more we actually telling the girls, like, or any children say, well, we need to educate. We are now need to educate the next generation. We need to tell, for example, this is how it is, we are equal, or we need to listen to other people's views, we need to understand them and help them. So and to change, to work towards that. So it's working together, listening others as well, and inspiring and teaching our children from an early ages. And every aspect we go, everywhere we go, what we talk, we just should tell them, politics is not a scary word. It's actually day-to-day living. You're not happy with something, this is politics. Childcare, schooling, food, everything we do, it's politics. Tax, absolutely. Everything. So absolutely. That's why I think you just need to explain the word politics. It's not a scary word. It's actually day-to-day life. Buying a bottle of milk for your family. Can you afford it? Who changes, where it's all coming.
Thank you for that, Dzidra. Really, really important. I might as well as highlight an achievement or two. Anyway, I went for a position, for an MP's position in Manchester. I came second. I didn't win. I didn't become an MP, but do you know what? I was on cloud nine. I could not believe me from an inner city disadvantaged area has actually put myself forward, have got through the long listing, the short listing, and on the night I thought, oh, I'm just going to be knocked out. I came second and I only lost by a few votes, but you know what? It was the most amazing experience ever. So everyone on this webinar today, please believe in yourself and you can do it. Just go out there, like I said before. If you don't make it, it doesn't matter. That actually opened the doors for me to go onto the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party, because it empowered me, gave me a bit more confidence, and it put my face out there. People started understanding who she was. Who's this Yasmine? Yes, she's doing this, doing that. But I've worked damn hard, and everyone here, all these sisters that are on the webinar today, if we had time and listened to the stories and the struggles, no one's life has been easy. We've not had a silver spoon. We've not had someone help us on the way. We've done it ourselves. And the reason I'm saying this is because we're empowering you to get up and do it. If you want to make a change and you want to be a part of this change process, get up, get out there, get involved. And it's small steps that will get you to making those achievements. And like I said, everything isn't an achievement, but it's such a proud moment. And that's the whole idea of who we are and what we want to do today and inspire. I'm going to go around with some final comments and words quickly, because I know we're running out of time and I keep getting messages. So quickly, I'm going to go to you, Dzidra, first. A quick final comment.
Believe in yourself. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Believe in self, that if people putting you down, you just rise above it. Like Yasmine said, you never give up. Never give up. Believe in yourself.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anna.
Keep your voice loud. Keep your thinking clear and keep your voice loud. Never be intimidated by the obstacles. Obstacles, they will always be. Only we have to be positive and working hard to the top. That's the point.
Thank you. Thank you. Julie.
Okay, it's a little story. I'll try and be quick though. But
it's frozen. Go.
Yeah, well, I will be quick. The Conservative MP for Shipley is called Philip Davis, and he's a well-known misogynist, and he has been filibustering in Parliament, which means talking so long that we can't get the Istanbul Convention passed through the Parliament, for example. The Istanbul Convention is the single most important piece of legislation that would end violence against women and girls. Anyway, one summer, Philip Davis decided he would go to a men's meeting where he'd talk about feminist zealots who he doesn't like, okay? And he ended up saying, "You feminist zealots, you want to have your cake and eat it. Well, yes, I do. And if you follow me on Twitter, you will see that I describe myself as a feminist zealot. And it is from that very moment, because I was in Canada at the time, and all around the world, this hashtag, feminist zealot, have cake and eat it, started to trend. And Helen Pidcock, who writes for The Guardian in the northwest of England, had reported this story. And all over the world, women started eating cake, taking selfies of themselves eating cake, and using that hashtag, which is feminist zealot, have cake and eat it. We will.
Thank you, Julie. I'm going to make my final comments before I pass over to our organisers. So never limit yourself because of others' limited imagination. I'm going to say it again. Never limit yourself because of others' limited imagination, and never limit others because of your own limited imagination. Above all, sisters, be the heroine in your lives, not the victim. And together we must continue to raise our voices and choose to challenge. Obviously, that's the theme of International Women's Day and Women's Week this year. So a challenged world is an alert world, and from challenge comes change. So let's all choose to challenge and change our world for the better. Solidarity. I'm going to pass you over to our dearest organiser, Kesra. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending, for listening, for watching. It's been an absolute honour, pleasure, privilege. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Yasmine. Wow, what a way to end, mashallah, with lovely quotes and lovely thoughts. It's been an amazing panel. You'll all agree. I loved it. And the contributions you made, learned so much, celebrate women. And you've done a terrific job, mashallah, Yasmine, as always, with your lovely smile. So it leaves it to me to say goodbye for tomorrow. And we have another session there, International Women's Day, last event, celebrating art and culture, with lots of art and cultural activity, you name it, we're doing it. So join us at 2 p.m. So have a good evening. Thank you so much for those of you who joined us for 2 sessions today. And assalamu alaikum. Thank you once again to our amazing women who joined us. Well done.